Hey guys, in today's video, I'll be showing you how to do this stitch. It's a strange Frankenstein combination of Coptic stitch, this kettle stitch, and the French link stitch. So the thing with French link is that it doesn't really work for hardcover, which is why I'm doing a weird combination with the Coptic stitch. I designed these really cool covers. It has a layer of red leather, and then a layer of black leather. I cut it up and added stitches and this dragon eye cabochon in the middle. I don't know how you actually say that word, cabochon. Anyways, you could find these little glass circles that are round on one side, flat on the other, and they're painted with an eye on the back. So that's how I created this cool dragon book. But what I'll be focusing on here is the stitching. So let's get right into it. Alright, so I'm going to be assuming that you've seen my other videos about covering boards, cutting paper, punching holes. So let's just get straight to sewing. I'll be showing a combination Coptic and French link stitch. So you start it just as you would a Coptic stitch. I'll also be releasing short videos, I think, for certain short skills like covering boards or threading a needle or punching holes, just so that people can find those specific skills instead of having to go back to entire earlier videos. So stay tuned for that. So you start off with that knot starting just as a Coptic stitch. You go to 1 second, you go to loop around this cover. Oh. My string is a bit long, so it got caught on something. I'm going to be pulling this through so that it loops around the cover just like a Coptic stitch. Next, you can either just go back through the hole, or you can loop around that loop. And then you go on back through that first hole. And you pull it through. I'm just moving around my pages a bit, holding it down and pulling on my stitch, making sure that's nice and tight. And then I'm going to go on to the second hole here. I, once again, am going through the cover and pulling it through. Pulling it tight, looping around right there again. Oh, needle fell out. I'm actually going to be doing what I've shown in earlier videos, where I stab through the thread itself, you pull, and now it's stuck pretty nice. It won't come out. Back to the beginning of this Coptic stitch. I'm showing a French link stitch, but I'm starting it similarly to how you would start a Coptic. going through right there, and then through the next hole. Making sure that my thread doesn't get caught right there, and then I go back through the next hole. Pull that on through, and then I'm going to loop around and pull. Once again, making sure my stitch is nice and tight, and then back through this hole. Next to the next hole, and you continue doing it just as you would with the Coptic. So now that you get the point, I'm going to cut and I'll be back when I'm on to the next step. Okay, we're now at that point where we're going to start treating it like a French stitch. Well, almost. Once you get to the end of that first signature, you're going to be going into the next signature. Wait a second, just gotta square my pages. I'm having trouble getting into the signature. So what I'm doing is I have those holes, I'm putting my needle in them, wiggling it around just to make the holes a little bit bigger and lined up. So now more successfully going through that first hole, and then you go through to the second one. Alright, so here's where I'll be incorporating the French link. So what I'm doing is I will be looping around the stitch that's under, just like a Coptic stitch. But instead of going back through that hole, I'm going to just be going through the next hole. So I'll be, oh wait a second. What I'm actually doing is going from looping under that one to looping under the next one and then through the hole. That's what I meant. So you go loop there and through the next hole. Pulling through, and then through the next hole. String keeps getting taut because I have it as a long string. Next, I'll be going under the next one. And I'll be doing the same. I'm going under across to the next stitch instead of going back through regularly. So I've got it like that. I go through, one second. Having trouble getting it through this hole here. There we go. We pull that through, go on to the next hole. Making sure my string isn't getting caught. Pulling it nice and tight. And then we go back under and pull through there. And then, just as we did with the regular Coptic stitch, on the ends this will be a kettle stitch. So what you do now is you go back around the other way through that second row of stitching, which makes that tiny kettle shape. Great. Now let's go on to this next signature. I'm again going to quickly make the holes just a little bit bigger. And here we go. Through the first hole of that second signature, or third signature. Wait a second. Oh, whoops. Hit my camera there. Oh well. So, second signature, you go through. Here I'm going to do both the Coptic style and the French link style in one. So I'm going to loop over there and then loop under that stitch and go through the next hole. Or wait a second, I'm making a creative decision to not continue with that Coptic right there. Instead, I'm going to go more French link. I'm doing a hybrid of the two stitches because French link doesn't really work for hardcover books. So that's why I'm doing this sort of hybrid thing. Yeah. So then I'll be going on to the next hole. After that, I am going through the next hole and again going for that French link where you go through that crossing stitch below it. You pull it here. Let me just fix that. So you get these links. And then you go through to the next hole, and of course you go back with the kettle stitch. My string keeps getting caught there, and then I go back around to finish up that small kettle there. And then I'm going to continue going up. Each time you add a signature, you add it under the old one. So I guess the farthest one in the direction you're going. So when I go around next time, I'll go under this one, and then this one. The time after that, I'll go under that one and that one. So I'll keep stitching, and I'll see you if anything comes up. Hey guys, I'm back, and I'm now up to my last signature. As you go through the binding, your French links should start to look like this, and your kettle stitch looks like that on the edge, and all is good. Once you get to your back cover, you end it the same way you would end a Coptic stitch. So you go through the hole of the back cover. Right there, through that hole. You go make a loop right there. And then you head back in through that last signature. Oh, I didn't fully go through it. 1 second. Yeah. Back at that last signature, you go through that same hole. If I can manage to get it, there it is. And you pull it nice and tight like that. You move on to next hole in the signature. My string is getting caught a bit, but that's fine. Just making sure I keep getting it unstuck as it keeps getting stuck. I go through the second hole now, and I pull through. And then I go pull it around that loop there, moving that little knot so it's right up there against the pages, just like we have with the first signature. And then I go back through that second hole. So going back through that second hole there, and then you continue as you do with the Coptic stitch. I will see you when it's done. All right, my book is all finished. I think that the sewing came out pretty good. Just to go over it again, it's a weird combination of stitches because French stitches doesn't really work with hard covers. So you start and end like a Coptic stitch. The sides are kettle stitches, as you'd have in a French link or a Coptic stitch. Then the middle is what's really these French link stitches, which comes out like that. I also did this cool cover, which I'm super happy with. And yeah, sorry that this was a short video. Next one will probably be longer, and I'll also do short clips of different important steps of the bookbinding process, just so that people don't have to watch every video. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.